Hello and welcome to the Scientology Money Project on YouTube with your host, Jeffrey Augustine. Great to have you here. We're doing part 2 on Grant Cardone and his lawsuit and fight 54-321 says this should be part 2X. Yes, it should be part 2X or 10X. The reason I'm doing Cardone is this. Hello, Apostate Alex. Welcome. And Wayne's World of Science and Technology. Always glad to have you here. One reason the Cardone lawsuit, where he's suing former T-Mobile CEO Jean Legere, so interests me is I'm a private investigator, and I'm going to tell you, I'm approaching this and give you a couple things what goes on in a major lawsuit because I get hired by a lawyer or a law firm. And a lawsuit is an adversarial proceeding. Law in America is adversarial. So now John Legere will consider Grant to be an adversary. And one thing that goes on in high-profile cases where there's a lot of money, they have a lot of money, that is plaintiff and defendant. One thing you do, and I've been involved in this, is you hire an expert to build a psychological profile of your adversary. So I'm not saying this will go on. I'm just saying I've seen it done. The thing to do would be to create a psychological profile of Grant Cardone, and you would take all inputs. And so I often contribute to psychological profiles, give input and do research. So I'm going to do a little bit of psychological profiling of Grant Cardone on this show. And we all naturally do it. But what happens is Grant Cardone, like L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, Grant Cardone lacks a filter. He often does and says stupid things that are on social media. And just as L. Ron Hubbard didn't have any editor to say, hey, Ron, maybe you shouldn't write this. Maybe you really don't want it in print. It's the same thing with Grant. I mean, maybe, and I'm just guessing, maybe his lawyers pull him back on some of the public stuff, but I don't know. I've watched Grant do some stupid stuff over the years. And so I wanted to kind of look at the lawsuit and do some profiling because the lawsuit really gives you a psychological insight into Grant Cardone's state of mind. And we're going to go right into the lawsuit. I have it up. So this is it. Now, as we saw yesterday, okay, this is a demand for jury trial, and Grant has told Patrick Bet-David that he's been damaged to hundreds of millions of dollars. We'll get into that later. I don't think the valuation is, how do you determine damages? But in this document, which is now posted on the Scientology Money Project in my latest article, you can go there and read it, and it's well worth reading because this is something where I think that Grant really gave too much away in this. And we went through yesterday the video in which there was a chat room in Periscope. And I have that video I want to show you today. And this, at point 45, I'm going to show you the video that began it all. This is like the Periscope chat room. This is the basis of it. I apologize, I had technical issues yesterday. So I have the video, and Grant puts the whole thing. So let's go watch the video. And this is John Legere. We have audio only, and he's tearing into Grant. And this is the basis of this lawsuit. So as part of the psychological profile, we know that Grant felt embarrassed, humiliated, enraged. But he did invite John on, and this is free speech. But Grant saying, no, this is libel and slander. So let's listen to it.
Grant, you are the biggest bullshit artist on the planet. Okay, John, so I'll finish my statement. So Grant Cardone, who talks about being a recovering addict, and if you look at his posts, they are constantly him holding wine and whiskey and everything else. So Grant, are you a recovering addict or are you just a drunk?
I had a drug problem. I never had a drinking problem.
Hey, Grant, how much of the world sees a bifurcation between a drug issue and an alcohol issue?
What do you know about addiction?
I know quite a bit.
I've never had a problem with alcohol.
You talk about my life and my recovery and the whole deal, but you're out drinking.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
Well,
that.
I think the world might have a problem with your story, Grant.
Why are you trying to diminish everybody in the room?
No, just you, Grant, because you're a fucking con man. I'll say this on this room right now. I believe that in the next year, Grant Cardone will be found guilty of fraud. I believe that Grant Cardone will be found guilty of fraud, and I want nothing to do with it.
Okay, now that was you heard it. That's the initial. As far as I can tell, this has been the initial thing, and the reason I say this is Grant Cardone puts the entire exchange that we just heard on Periscope. He puts the entire exchange, and let me know in the comments if you heard the video. Just I did get all that fixed. Grant puts the entire exchange into his lawsuit, verbatim, and he says that those are defamatory statements. Well, those are opinions. And so there's quite a bit of difference between an opinion and a defamatory statement. Now, opinions can be quite brutal. Thank you, Indie Spirit. So opinions can be quite brutal, but whether they're defamatory and they rise to the level of libel, especially when you're a public figure like Grant Cardone. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just giving, my opinion. So Grant put the entire exchange into the lawsuit. So then it becomes a matter of public record. And this is almost like the Streisand effect, where you draw attention to something, it becomes huge. And that's one of the problems for Grant here is he's going to make this whole exchange huge and it's going to go into social media. That is how, from a psychological profiling point of view, Grant feels it's necessary to put this entire conversation into a legal exchange, which is now a public record in the court of law in Miami-Dade County. And it's for the whole world to see because it's a public record. And Grant felt the need to list this. And I thought, why would you go there, Grant? Why would you go there? Because in a court of law, there's certain evidence, and I'm not going to show everything I have, but there's certain evidence that can be presented to show that Grant is a con man and a bullshit artist. And I'm going to show you the other two videos that I had technical problems with. Okay, now this the first piece of evidence I want to show you that is I build a psychological profile of Grant Cardone, and I also build evidence, and I'm just sort of someone watching this case with a lot of interest because the doors that will get open in this in deposition and discovery are going to be brutal for Grant Cardone, in my opinion. This is first exhibit A is where Grant goes on in the middle of the pandemic. He says later that he has to get above the noise of 320,000 people dead in America and globally more are dying, but he has to get attention. This is the fake bankruptcy video. I want you to see this.
Okay. All right. So again, everybody's asking me about my haircut. This is actually not a haircut. We're going to tell you more about what happened later. I think it's gonna actually touch a few people. Some of you are gonna be touched. Some of you are gonna be inspired. Some of you ain't gonna give a shit. You're gonna be like, I'm glad that shit happened to you. I'm glad that shit happened to you. Okay. Now on the rumors of my bankruptcy that is soon to happen, yes, it's true. Okay. I'm losing the plane, the condo, all the apartments, 8,000 units. Okay. All of it's going back to the bank. So if you guys want to get it before it goes back to the bank, call me. The Gulfstream 2017 Gulfstream 550, brand new. It's about 50 million. You could probably pick that thing up today for, I don't know,
6.5,
$7 or $8 million bucks. Probably have somebody can probably buy that for nothing. Okay, Alex Martin, you could probably get it for $8 million. My condo down the street, you could probably pick that up for $2 or $3 million bucks today. The real estate, there's 8,000 units, $1.5 billion worth of real
10
estate.
cents on the dollar.
You could probably buy that for 10 cents on the dollar. Okay. So pick it all up, guys. And if you know a good bankruptcy lawyer that can protect me from going to prison, and particularly because I don't want to be on American Greed, man, I appreciate it. Just send me a link. I love you guys. God bless you guys. Be great. And hey, look, I'm pulling for you even when I go down. Okay. I'm going down. I'm going down. I still be the talk of the town, motherfuckers. Hey, see you guys tomorrow, by the way. See you guys tomorrow. I mean, Friday. Don't forget, Friday. Friday. What am I saying Friday? Live training.
Okay, now that exhibit, and I'm calling it an exhibit because it'll go into a court of law. Grant Cardone told an audience in the internet that he was going bankrupt, and he'd also needed a lawyer to protect himself from going to prison. So by making those kind of statements, excuse me, I thought I had my phone turned off. It's not Grant calling. It's not Grant calling. I'll turn my phone down. I thought it maybe his lawyer was calling me. So when you go on and you tell the internet and your investors and the market that you've gone bankrupt and you need a lawyer to keep you from going to prison, and those are false statements, and you knowingly and intentionally made false statements, that's being a con artist and a bullshit artist. When a jury sees that, what will a jury think? And so I think that's a damning piece of evidence. Now, we have another video that I want to show you. This is where Grant Cardone actually, I believe, crosses the line by inducing people to use their credit cards if they're going to go bankrupt. We discussed this yesterday, but now I want to show you the video. This is another piece of evidence and part of the psychological profiling.
Are you going bankrupt? You need to ask them because they're thinking about it. Trust me, you need to bring it up before they do. They are thinking about, I'm going to bust out here. The unspoken objection is what's going to kill your deals. This is straight out of Sell or Be Sold. Initiate the objection. If you're going to go bankrupt, you want debt, you want obligations, and you want contracts. It's not, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Then sign up. If you ain't going to make it, you ain't going to pay for it, dude. Let's say you're going to go out of business. You're in the furniture business. And you're like, I'm done here. Okay? Well, guess what? That don't get you off the hook of living on this planet. You failed the business, no problem. You restart another business. So the way to play this is let's go ahead and give your business the best shot. You need training. You're going to need sales. You're going to need phone skills. You're going to need follow-up. Otherwise, it's going to fail. If we put it on a credit card and you fail, the bankruptcy court picks up the Visa, MasterCard, the American Express. Training contract you did with us lives on for your next company. 100% of those people will continue on in some other business. Donald Trump has restructured casinos, man. This is not a new thing. The big boys restructure.
Okay, so now that was the other part when we look at the psychological profiling as well as the behavior. Is there evidence to show that Grant Cardone's a con man and a bullshit artist? When you ask people who are going to go bankrupt to commit credit card fraud to buy your product to enrich you, well, that asset belongs to the bank. It belongs to the credit card company. But Grant's offering to do a bypass by saying, buy my service with your credit card, keep it for yourself, and we'll just keep it between us, and the credit card company, the bank will eat the debt. So imagine that going before a jury, and that's very disturbing. So I want to go back to the lawsuit. So we have these things where the entire exchange on Periscope, Grant incorporated by reference into his lawsuit. And I mean, this can be read to a jury. The video can be played. So we have a transcript of the actual thing. Now, at this point, why do you attack people's religion? Man, I don't understand. We're going to get to that in a minute. Basically, when you're, in my opinion, when you're belong to a particular religion, the baggage that goes with that religion, that's attributed to you because in Grant's case, he's financially supporting the Church of Scientology. He's implicated in it directly as a member, and it's not out of bounds for conversation because Grant has talked about Scientology and he's a Scientologist. That's a matter of record. Look, I'll put it this bluntly. If you're a Scientologist, you don't get a free pass. If you're a Catholic, you don't get a free pass. You know, you stand up for your beliefs, you defend them, you engage in apologetics, but anytime you're a member of any type of group, religious or not, you get the baggage associated with that. And if your group has problems, then you can speak to those or not. Scientology in the 1990s, with the rise of the early internet, came out with saying free speech is not the right to attack my religion. That was what Helen Coburn and the other attorneys tried to argue. Free speech is not the right to attack my religion. Well, that's a fallacy. Free speech is the right to criticize a religion. They call it attacking my religion. Stop attacking my religion. And that's just a stratagem or a ploy on their part to characterize any criticism of their religion as an attack. It can be a very legitimate religion, as in the Chase Wave credit card fraud. That's not an attack on Scientology at all. So Grant Cardone wants to pivot, and this is part of the psychological profiling of a Scientologist, is they will reflexively call any criticism of Scientology an attack on their religion. But going back to the lawsuit, Grant is trying everything he can to get out of the onslaught in this open conversation in a meeting. And John Legere says, quote, "My opinion is, Grant, you're a fucking fraud. Go ahead," unquote. So what I just showed you on the credit card thing, Grant urging people to buy his products and services and then go bankrupt and let the bank eat it, and then claiming he was bankrupt. Well, there's evidence there that he's a fraud, in my opinion. Okay, I have to keep saying that because Grant is going to be recording this, and I'm going to show you evidence later. Now, he even puts the link in there. See exchange. So he even puts the link in there for us. And I got to tell you, this is extraordinary. Now, when we get to 47, Grant begins to post every little insult. And folks, my listeners, I got to tell you something. What we're going to go through in this next part of the lawsuit is Grant is listing many things that John Legere did, which tells me that Grant had a team recording everything that Jean Legere is saying. And that's what Scientology's Office of Special Affairs does. They record everything said about them. So if you're posting about Scientology, they're gonna record it. Every video you make, every post you make on any social media platform, anywhere, Church of Scientology's Office of Special Affairs records it. Grant's acting in a similar manner. And these go back beginning of February, which means Grant, after that Periscope exchange, he began recording everything with an eye to suing Legere. That's my opinion. But these get pretty petty, in my opinion. These get really petty, and it shows how thin-skinned Grant is. So let's look at some examples. If you go here, February 2, 2023, Cardone posted a link for an upcoming interview with Lara Trump at 8 p.m. EST, stating that Cardone would be discussing ideas on running a successful business, the reasons behind his decisions to move to Florida, his experiences of winning at casinos, and more. Legere responded at 8:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 16 minutes after the live stream began, by posting the following: "Wow, how does it keep being live and disparaging Cardone in his interview without a basis to do so?" I'm sorry. Grant posted a link inviting people to watch something and comment on it. Legere posts a comment. In fact, we're going to go to, let me just see this for a minute. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go that. I'm going to show you the screen so to give you an idea of just how how petty Grant's getting in this thing. So let's look at the issue in question. I want to take that off, and I want to go back to this other screen. Okay, so we have. Okay, I'm going to share this. Now, this is a LinkedIn page, and let's make it big. Okay, so this is the actual post. Excuse me. So when you post something, excuse me, when you make a post like this, and you're telling people to come aboard, well, you can see underneath there's comments. So here, someone makes the remark, I'm guessing taxes had something to do with your move to Florida, Grant. And there's laughter. And you're going to catch some flack when you comment. But the thing is, Grant was asking people to watch. And he got some comments. And some are pretty funny, and they're poking fun at him. And that just goes with the territory, some people like him, some people don't. So I don't understand personally why Grant would react this way. It's interesting. So Grant is really upset that he invited people to watch, and Legere posts this comment. It's really petty. But, we're going to go back and look at the lawsuit. Let's continue looking at that. So I'm sorry, just give me a minute. Go back to the lawsuit. Okay, now we're back to the lawsuit. And there we go. A little flicker there. So that's weird. There's a little post he made. I don't know why we're getting a flicker. He makes a little post and with Lara Trump, and then he's getting upset about it. On February 8th, he posts a Grant Cardone TV article detailing how 10x Rich became #1 trending on Twitter. And apparently Legere said, by tossing money at it and implying to the public that Cardone achieved the trending status through financial means rather than genuine engagement or organic traction. Now, this presents a risk to Cardone right here. So Grant Cardone is saying that that 10x Rich had #1 trending status on Twitter. John Legere said, "Oh, did you pay money for hits, for clicks?" Grant gets insulted at that. Now that's something that can be a matter of in discovery, saying, "Did you pay money to make that the #1 trending thing?" That's discoverable pre-trial. That's something he can be asked. You can subpoena records. What were you spending on social? How much were you paying? That's an interesting question. But the fact that Grant would be saying, "How dare you? How dare you imply that I paid for that?" He might have. I don't know. But I'm just saying that Grant's going down to that level. The next level of, and this is really quite a litany. February 22, Cardone posted, "Who's your president?" And this is interesting. Legere responds, "Who's yours, Grant? And are you asking the people to take action here?" Oh, never mind. That was January 6th. Back to the first question. "Who is your president, Grant?" "Mine and not all American citizens is Joe Biden," unquote. So in 2023, Joe Biden was the president of the United States at that time and still is the president of the United States. So when Cardone asks, "Who's your president?" That's an important question, because look at this setup. In 2023, when the question was asked, Joe Biden was the legally elected president of the United States. So even if somebody doesn't like Joe Biden or loves Joe Biden, he's still the president. When Donald Trump was the legally elected president of the United States, people hated him intensely. Some people loved him, but he was the president. So Jean Legere is correct. At that time, on February 22nd, 2023, Joe Biden was the president. So for Grant Cardone to ask, who's your president? Well, the president of all Americans, it stands to reason, was Joe Biden. That's the fact. So that wasn't derogatory. And somehow Grant tries to say Legere's reference to January 6th was somehow associating Grant with the insurrection. Is Grant saying there was an insurrection? And I want to get this up on Scientology Madman Grant Cardone. There's a couple things I want to go through. And this is John Legere who's suing him. This is when he was CEO of T-Mobile, and he was known. He has long hair like me. I like that, and I like that I can identify with the guy having long hair. And so this is John, and this is now Grant's legal adversary, and Legere has a bachelor's degree from the University of Massachusetts in business administration, a Master of Science degree as an Alfred P. Sloan Fellow at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, a Master of Business Administration from Farley Dickinson University, and he completed Harvard's Business School program for management development, long-range marathoner, raises money. So anyway, you can see this quite a guy. He has his master's from an MBA from Farley Dickinson, and he went to Harvard. He also has his master's of science degree from MIT. That's very prestigious. This is the lawsuit, of course. Now, this is Grant Cardone. He paid Donald Trump to make a personal appearance. And so that tells us, as we build a psychological profile, that Grant is a political conservative. And we're not political on this show. I'm just saying that you hire Donald J. Trump. And at the time when Grant hired him, it was former President Trump. Trump was not currently the president of the United States. He was a former president. But in America, we call our former presidents president. It's an honor you get after you leave the office. So that's fair. And he later uses the prestige of Donald Trump, that is to those who hold Donald Trump in reverence or respect, and because America is very divided. And I'm just pointing that Grant is using Mr. Trump to endorse his brands, and he's paying him to do so. So you can see all of Grant Cardone's brands, Grant Cardone Enterprises, Training Technology, all that, behind him, Cardone on Demand. So it's very much Grant's trying to reach Trump's base. He's trying to play to that base. And it was just like I showed you yesterday, God wants you to be a billionaire. He goes to that base as well. So that's part of his strategy, is to use Donald Trump. And he's clearly a supporter of Donald Trump. I mean, he's paid him a lot of money to appear. So that is something else we look at as a psychological profile. He's a political conservative and everything that goes with that. And this next picture I want to show you, I think this is part of the profile, and this is something that would go on in the trial, is why is Grant lighting money on fire? Does he have disregard for his investors' money? Is this what a con man would do? What is Grant doing here? Why is he lighting money on fire and not donating it to a charity or a cause? Now, that is another part of the profile. And when Grant is testifying under oath during the trial, and I think John Legere's lawyers could say, what were you doing here? What was going on? Why did you burn money? Why did you do this? And that would be a fair question. So that's just something I want to show you. I'm going to give it to you in another, let me see if I have it here. Yeah, I want to show it to you in another version. And I think this is what something that would be damaging. And I'm going to show this to you. I show you another version of the burning money, because this goes to something that, Grant thinks he's a showman, but it's something I think that's going to be more problematic. I really do think it's going to be more problematic. Okay, this is another version of it. Now, Grant Cardone on Facebook says, make so much money, you got money to burn. The problem I have with this, Grant Cardone is actually still has current posts up where he's doing that. Make so much money, you've got money to burn, meaning that you can literally take $100 bills and light them on fire so you can light your cigar, your expensive Cuban cigar. That is, that doesn't go together with two things. Grant Cardone is saying he's been damaged to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. That's what he told Patrick Bet-David. And yet on that post, it looks like we went to an airplane video. Let's go back to that post. So Grant Cardone has money to burn, and yet he's been injured to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. How does that fit together, Mr. Cardone? You're saying you've got so much money, you've got money to burn, and you can light your cigars with several $100 bills, $600 or however many dollar bills he has there. I would actually do a count as an investigator, actually count how many dollar bills were in that. So let's go back. For example, here's one thing you do in research. You always count. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like it's maybe between $800 and $1,000 if you count the dollar bills. And you have to do this as part of research and investigation. Count 1, 2. It looks like the third one there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like he's got $800 bills. So one of the questions at law then becomes, do you have so much money, Mr. Cardone, that you can use $800 to light a cigar? How have you been financially injured? Because this post is still up on Facebook. Nowhere in social media has Grant Cardone said, before this lawsuit, which just came out 3 days ago, nowhere is Grant Cardone saying anywhere on social media, I've been injured to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars by John Legere. In fact, Grant continues to talk about how much money he has. He talks about how he just told Patrick Bet-David out of one side of his mouth that he spends $3.5 million a year to keep his jet, his private jet, parked. It's $3.5 million just to keep it in the hangar. Doesn't count fuel costs, maintenance, upgrades. Alex, if it is real cash, I want to know whether after his burn, he claimed it as an expense on his tax forms. Alex, that's a great question. That is a killer question that attorneys could ask during trial. Did you deduct that money that you incinerated? You could also ask, did you take it to the bank and say the money was damaged and ask the bank to replace it? Because if you do have damaged currency in the United States, like say you get a $100 bill torn in half, as long as you take them both halves of the $100 bill in to the bank and the serial numbers match and everything matches, they'll replace that damaged currency. Alex, that's a really good avenue of exploration for lawyers. Did you deduct that? And Grant said he looks at for every deduction possible. He wants to pay as little taxes as possible. So if he did that kind of stunt and then deducted it, it's illegal to destroy U.S. currency, but it's nothing enforceable. For something like that, though, that's a good question for lawyers to ask. Did you deduct that, or did you take the money to the bank and get it replaced? So Grant, that's a really good question, killer question. A for research and investigatory question. Now we're going to go back to the lawsuit because this thing is just so darn good. And anyway, I'm going to stop those two screens. Let me just do that. I've got some, I have to tell my StreamYard to stop doing stuff. Okay, so we're going to go back to the lawsuit, and I just have to put that back up. Okay, so now we continue on. It says 48, if you want to read point 48 here. Quote, to exacerbate an already caustic situation, Cardone has become aware of additional posts that were made by Legere, which has since been deleted and are archived from his X profile. These defamatory publications include inter alia. Folks, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm sorry that I don't have violin music cued as Grant Cardone recites his litany of butthurt against John Legere. I should have cued violin music. I really have. In the spirit, I like that Legere gotten under his skin. Oh, he's gotten right into he's gotten right into his pineal gland. If we follow Hinduism, he's gotten right down. He's gotten much further than under his skin. And in the spirit, to that point, I just wanted to make a digression, if you'll indulge me. I worked in photodynamic therapy as part of my portfolio on lighting. And look, during my sales career, I sold over $100 million in goods and services. Okay. Scientology has tried to mock it, but I did. And I was in general lighting, scientific lighting. I did work in photodynamic therapy. Grant has this company he partnered with that does photodynamic therapy, and Grant lays in a light bed. And Grant stated that the light goes all the way down in his heart and his lungs and his bones. Grant, it doesn't. You don't even know your own product. Those photons don't go below the dermis of the skin, okay? Because skin, the upper layers of the skin, they absorb all that, okay? And they might go a little bit deeper than the upper layers, but anyway, your body's mostly water, and water loves to absorb energy. So those photons coming out of your bed don't go into your bones and your organs. They can't. Okay, they go upper layer dermis. That's the photobiology of the device you're laying in for 20 minutes a day under your light bed when you get out of your hyperbaric chamber. So that's just a side issue I wanted to address. So back to the lawsuit. Anyway, just like Osa, this is Grant really treasuring up his wounds. And any comment that Legere makes suddenly becomes disparaging. But Grant's in different public fora, to use a Marty Rathbun word, fora, plural of forum. So he's on Instagram, he's in Periscope, he's in chat rooms. These are all public on social media. And yet now suddenly Legere accuses him of fear mongering. The sky is falling. Now I have instances where Grant says, you better invest with me. And Grant's going on and on. Now this is amazing that Grant is saying suddenly everything is defamatory. Now, John Legere said, at Grant Cardone, you mean like a Scientologist, homophobe, transphobe, or is there even more beside arrogant egotist? Smile. Now, this thing about Scientologists with LGBTQ plus and being, anti, well, that's where I think there's an opportunity to put Scientology on trial, because Grant's put L. Ron Hubbard's view of gay people into this, and I have this ready. I'll cue it up. This is from Dianetics, and this is from the original version. And oh, wait a minute, I lost it. Hubbard said, here you can point the third paragraph. The sexual pervert, and by this term Dianetics, to be brief, includes any and all forms of deviation in dynamic two, such as homosexuality, lesbianism, sexual sadism, etc., and all down the catalog of Ellis and Kraft-Ebing, is actually quite ill physically. Perversion as an illness has so many manifestations that it must be spread through the entire gamut of classes from 1 to 5 above. So Hubbard is calling the LGBTQ people quite ill physically, and he's saying they're aberrated. And Hubbard even wildly says, if you pick up, here's what Hubbard says that can happen when you are LGBTQ plus. Quote, overdevelopment of sexual organs, underdevelopment. How can you have both? Seminal inhibition or magnification, Dr. Hubbard. So if you're have the illness of being gay, the aberration, then you can have seminal inhibition or magnification are found some in one pervert, some in another. So I guess it varies from pervert to pervert. And how would Hubbard even know that? Hubbard would have to study male ejaculate. Let me make this point because I've made it before. Hubbard has an obsession with male ejaculate. So for Hubbard to say that some sexual perverts, meaning gay men here he's talking about, some gay men would have seminal magnification and some of them wouldn't. Hubbard would have to do clinical work on that with gay men to see how much semen they ejaculated, because he's saying here that he's seen seminal magnification in some and less in others. So I guess Hubbard clinically studied this, or maybe he did field studies anthropologically. I think he was a closet case, but anyway. So Hubbard says, quote, and the sum of it is that the pervert is always a very ill person in one way or another, whether he is conscious of it or not. So that's the kind of thing you can put where when Legere is asked about the remark about Scientology being homophobes, transphobes, etc., you can go right to Dianetics and put Scientology on trial as part of a strategy. Now, when Hubbard mentions Kraft-Ebing, this comes from an 1894 work called Psychopathia Sexualis. It was printed in 1894. So Hubbard is going way, way back, and this is available online. The English language version is available online as a free download. But let's go back to the Cardone complaint. So when Grant Cardone is so reflexive that when Legere says a Scientologist homophobe, transphobe, or was there more, that's Legere's mark can be defended by pointing to Dianetics and the modern science of mental health. So this is where Cardone is opening up Scientology to be put on trial. And because this is a civil case and Legere is defending against Cardone's allegations, he can quote right from L. Ron Hubbard about gay people. And Dr. Sweatman, Icky Soviet, Jack Parson had bigelows. Now, how do you know that, sir? Just curious, just asking. Hubbard might have known, I don't know. So this is, you got to have some fun doing this anyway. Yeah, I mean, Hubbard would have known about Jack Parsons because they kind of did work with their magic wands, where wands means the male member, when they were doing the Babylon working. So Hubbard would have had some direct existential lived experience there with Jack on, the viscosity and quantity and things. But this is what Hubbard's actually talking about, like he did field work on seminal inhibition. Let's go back to the lawsuit. And I'm dragging, I'm sorry, I'm kind of dragging this out a little bit because it's so interesting. Now, he puts in a footnote. Cardone says, the fact that Legere's posts were deleted suggests that he was conscious of having published a false, defamatory, and misleading statement. This act of removal implies an acknowledgement of the problematic nature and content of potentially an attempt to mitigate the repercussions of the defamatory statements, unquote. No, that's not what it means at all. You can just decide to delete stuff. And there's the actual post. Grant Cardone, you mean like a Scientologist, homophobe, transphobe? Well, just because you delete a post, it's not an indication of anything. All it means is you deleted a post. And, so Cardone's trying to build a case here. But look at 49. Cardone is such a drama queen. Okay, now cue the violins. To add insult to injury in an effort to diminish the trust of the public and further damage Cardone's reputation, Legere has repeatedly challenged articles discussing Cardone's net worth online. Wow. So what's happening here in 49, quote, and this is Cardone writing, quote, in an effort to diminish the trust of the public and further damage Cardone's reputation, unquote. So right here, this is an amazing thing because Cardone has admitted in writing that his reputation has been damaged. Now, Grant Cardone, you did a lot to damage your own reputation by running your mouth, as we saw in asking people to commit credit card fraud, saying you were bankrupt. And there's a lot of other stuff I'm not presenting. I'm holding it. But you've done a lot to damage your own reputation. But now you have admitted that your reputation is damaged. But you're not saying that on social media. You're limiting it to your lawsuit. So Grant, if your reputation is really damaged, talk about it. Make videos about how it's been damaged because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. If your reputation's been damaged and you're saying that in a public lawsuit, but you're telling your audience base and your investors that everything's great, no, Grant Cardone here and further damage Cardone's reputation, meaning Cardone's has viewed as being damaged. Legere has repeatedly challenged articles discussing Grant Cardone's net worth online. Yeah, well, that's going to come up because Grant's now opened the door to discovery, as we said yesterday. He's going to be asked, how much are you worth? Prove that you're a billionaire, as you've been trying to portray. 50. As the former CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, Legere understands the importance of a reputable brand, public relations, and public trust. Well, yeah. And I made that point yesterday. That's the point I made yesterday, is that Jean Legere was CEO of a publicly traded company, T-Mobile. And as such, he was accountable to a board of directors, and he was accountable to shareholders, and he was accountable for earnings and the value of the stock. Jean Legere perfectly understands the duties and responsibilities of the CEO of a publicly traded company. The point I made is Grant Cardone, had he been the CEO of a publicly traded company and not one that he personally owned, he would have been fired immediately for the fake bankruptcy video. He would have been terminated for cause for asking people to commit credit card fraud. So Grant wants to try to say that he is a CEO like Jean Legere, where he's not. Grant reports only to himself. And Jean Legere damn well knows what a CEO of a publicly traded company, what you're expected to act like. And I've worked with CEOs. What you're expected to act like, your decorum, your deportment, what you say. An example of a great CEO, I think, is Carly Fiorina when she was at HP. Decorum, intellect, performance, numbers, new products, everything. You got to put it all together. And once, once you depart from those expected behaviors of a CEO, you're terminated. But Grant has gotten away with so much because no one can fire him. Even if you look at his contracts that investors sign, he can't be fired. He can't be fired. He's bulletproof, where Legere was not. And that's the difference. Now, 51, Legere was more than aware that his unfounded attacks on Cardone would cause damage to Cardone and his business by placing doubt in the minds of potential customers and the public. Well, that is something that Cardone would be asked how. This is a question I would ask. Mr. Cardone, given these examples we've seen of your fake bankruptcy and other issues, were you doing more damage to your own brand and reputation than John Legere making comments on social media? So let's take the fake bankruptcy video. That is self-inflicted damage to your reputation. The credit card asking people to pay you to enrich yourself and then file bankruptcy on their credit cards. That's more damaging than anything John Legere said on a forum. And in fact, how many people know who John Legere is in your audience, Mr. Cardone? So this is why I think the lawsuit, you would have to prove that Legere was more than aware. You'd have to prove it. So 54, the statements made by Legere impute to Cardone conduct, characteristics, or a condition incompatible with the proper exercise of his lawful business, trade, profession, or office. Now, Cardone's behavior, what he's done on his own, what he said on his own, he got a letter warning him from the Securities Exchange Commission about his irresponsible statements. So there's a lot of evidence against Cardone that he brought this on himself, that he's damaged his own brand. That's an argument that could be made. I brought up the minor issue that Grant said that the light in his light bed that he sells at 10x Health penetrates all the way down to his organs and bones. It doesn't. Red photons cannot penetrate that deep. You would need X-rays. Okay? He doesn't even know his own phototherapy products. Anyone who knows phototherapy will know that red photons are in the dermis. Okay? You get a little more energetic, you can use photons to induce a wound response in the fibroblasts, and then the fibroblasts will revascularize by inducing this wound response using photons. And when they revascularize, they reduce wrinkles. That's called photofacial rejuvenation. I know a lot about photodynamic therapy. I worked in it for years. One of my clients worked with the Wellman Clinic at Harvard. I helped build light devices for the late, great Ray Hartman. And so when I heard that Cardone actually believed that the red photons would penetrate that much, I knew that he doesn't even know his own product. So there's all kinds of things where there's experts and specialists who Cardone would say things and it would resonate with them. So how much damage is self-inflicted by Cardone by his antics? There's one video I have of Cardone. He's up on a 4th of July. They're on a balcony, I don't know, way up 20 stories up. He's holding a Roman candle, which is a firework which shoots out. It shoots out, balls of fire. He's holding it to his crotch off a balcony. There's bystanders below, but he's obviously, I think, intoxicated. So that was a weird video of him. I don't know why he's doing that, but he's doing it. So that would be part of it. Like, it's an argument to make, So conduct, let me go back. Conduct. Would the CEO of a publicly traded company hold a Roman candle to his groin as if it were a giant penis and shoot these fireballs off the balcony while he was drunk? No, that wouldn't happen. You don't do that when you're a CEO. And if you do something stupid, you don't put it on social media. Grant Cardone also posted, this is really weird. He posted a picture of him showering in the nude with one of his children in a waterfall down, I believe, in Costa Rica. And everyone went, what the fuck are you doing there? That photo's available. And he posted it. So he doesn't seem to think. He seems to have the same impulsivity as Mr. Trump and just posting stuff. And again, I'm not political. I'm just saying sometimes Trump posts stuff that, like, okay, it's your Twitter account, your X account. I don't care. And it says 55, the statements made by Legere have subjected Cardone to hatred, distrust, ridicule, contempt, or disgrace. Well, that would have to be proven. You know, how do you prove that? Grant Cardone has done a lot of things on his own. That's the point I'm making. He subjected himself to his own ridicule. He acts like a buffoon in a lot of his posts. Here, I'm going to share a screen on something as an example. And let's just show you something that's quite stunning that Aaron Smith Levin brought to my attention. Okay, now, Grant Cardone, he did this live with Lara Trump, and he said that he marketed to young Black clients by he didn't use technical financial language, but he used the language of the streets. And a lot of people, that got a lot of attention. That's something Grant brought on himself. That was perceived as racist, is that young Black clients aren't educated enough to understand financial languages. They're really insulting and abusive. And in fact, so much so that we need to show another screen. Forbes magazine. Let me just get it here. I have up so much. Forbes. Okay, yes. Okay, there we go. Now, this had such repercussions of Grant saying that we have to use street language with young Black people. And the implication was they're not literate enough to understand, financial terms. Forbes magazine. The problem with Grant Cardone speaking in street terms to Black professionals. Forbes itself, this would be an exhibit in court. Part of Grant Cardone's psychological profiling. Are you a racist, Mr. Cardone? That's what Legere's attorney could say. Are you a racist? Is this why? Then why did you say you have to speak to young Black people in street language? Are you a racist? Do you think that all Black people are stupid? And Forbes really tore into him because of this remark. So this is part of, now he charges people $1,500 to $20,000 per ticket for his 10X, and for his Cardone Alliance program, he sells it for he discounts it from $35,000 to $9,750. So the fact that Forbes took him to task for that remark, that's yet more evidence, but it also goes to his psychological profile. And look, he said this to Lara Trump, and it's a matter of public record. So when he's wanting to be harmed, how much of it has he brought on himself? And I think is largely all of it, because in Scientology, a Scientologist could say to Grant, as a fellow Scientologist, you pulled this in. And it almost looks like Grant doesn't want to be responsible for what's happened to him. He does not want to be responsible. And as a consequence, he's seeking to shift whatever crisis he's having. So such that point 56 here, quote, such false and defamatory statements have caused harm to Cardone and his brand in an amount to to be no less than $100 million. Now, he told Patrick Bet-David it was hundreds of millions of dollars. And then these causes of action are defamation per se, and we go through that. So basically, that's it. That's the lawsuit. Point 69. At the time such statements made by Legere knew or should have known they were false and defamatory. Well, I don't know that. I think they're free speech. I think when you go online as a public figure, you're going to catch some flack. And Grant Cardone, what he's been good at doing is social media. But be careful, because you can live by social media and die by social media. We saw that with Kanye West. So when you go out there, live by social media, die by social media. And I've said it before of the Church of Scientology, live by celebrity, die by celebrity. And we just saw that with the Danny Masterson conviction with rape. We've also seen celebrities turn against the church. So this, I think, is a case of a very psychologically brittle, angry man blaming John Legere for his failures. When in fact, when you start building a lot of evidence and building a psychological profile, Grant has no one but himself to blame. And somebody made a comment in yesterday's video, and I don't recall names, optical something, in to my video, and I appreciated it very much. They said that maybe Grant Cardone, is suing to pay his debts. I don't know. It was to that effect. I don't recall it exactly. But to say you've been damaged to hundreds of millions of dollars, and yet Grant is also saying he has a private jet and he has so much money. This is where it's going to get interesting, because Grant has publicly now said that his reputation has been damaged. Now we have to watch his social media to see if he shares this message or talks about the lawsuit. We also have to look at his monthly press releases. He's saying that in December 2023, he distributed $7 million plus to his investors, what was down to $5 million in January. So it went down $2 million. So I'm wondering if, here's my theory, it's an opinion. I'm wondering if Grant Cardone, because he's taken out no interest loans, and those are now going up, or he took out variable rate loans, and those are now adjusting. I'm wondering if Grant Cardone's headed for rough times ahead with his investors, where he'll have to either reduce distributions or not pay them, or he's heading for, because he built his empire, his $4 billion empire, as he claims, on low-cost money. And now that low-cost money is not around anymore and interest rates are up, I'm wondering if Grant Cardone is suing ahead of time so that he can tell his investors that John Legere and others have caused him financial damage, and that's the real issue. That's the real reason he's in trouble. I wonder if Grant's doing this as a maneuver so that when he has to suspend distributions, he has someone to blame. So I'm wondering how legitimate the lawsuit is. But also in terms of a psychological profile, because I wouldn't put that past Grant to be doing this kind of maneuvering, to be setting up ahead so that when he has to say, got to suspend distributions, rather than saying, now Grant's claimed that he planned for interest rates to go up, but that's not true, because I posted on my blog that he said he predicted, and it was a massively bad prediction, he predicted that there was no way that interest rates would go up. So I want to know what's really going on. If you want to contact me, you can contact me through my blog. Here, for example, I'm going to share this. So I'm glad you can appreciate my going through this. Okay, now this is something I saw in 2022. 2022, and I posted it on my blog. Cardone Capital hit with rising interest rates. Now, this is when I first began to wonder what was ahead with interest rates rising. Cardone Capital hit with rising interest rates, distribution reduced in July 2022. So this is an interesting post because he sent out something to Equity Fund 8 holders, and he said, this month's distribution was impacted by a $67,000 increase in interest expense due to rising interest rates. And he reduced interest rates from 6 to 4%. Now, in a previous thing, during the pandemic, and I noted this, when Grant was quarantined in Clearwater at Flag, he did a video he's since taken down that I would certainly, if I were in the lawsuit, I would subpoena and get back, have a copy. But he stated that he gets 10-year loans. The first 5 are interest only. So my point is, Jean Legere, his comments in social media, can they really destroy Grant Cardone, harm him to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars? I don't think so. I think that Cardone's positioning and maneuvering because there's bad times ahead for Cardone Capital. And I reserve the right to be wrong. Grant said he paid $60 million in distributions in 2023, which comes out to about 5%. You can work the numbers different ways, but that's a ballpark. So what I would watch for are distributions from Cardone Capital, all funds, to see if they go down. I would also I'm also very interested in John Legere's response, how he answers Cardone's complaint. And anyway, that's what I'm watching out. So we're coming up on it. We've gone over an hour, but let me take some questions. Ben, you like tacos, Turner? You do like tacos. I like that BTO. Oh my, variable rate loans. Good Lord. Yay. I didn't learn anything by the ARM debacle a few years ago. Yeah, just rate mortgage. Yeah, Grant said he's got some ARMs, and I don't know. But Grant also said that he planned around that so he could still cash flow. I don't know. When you have inflation and you've got some adjustable rates, I don't know how his cash flow is going to go. Marla Dillard, I'm a little behind. Was he did he design the credit card fraud that was used on members like Rosemary? No. Grant Cardone was not part of the Chase Wave credit card fraud. To be clear, what I said is he asked his potential clients who were going to go bankrupt to charge Cardone goods and services, sales training goods and services to the credit cards. And if they went bankrupt, the banks would pick it up. So 2 different credit card scams, one belonging to the Church of Scientology called the Chase Wave credit card fraud, according to Aaron Smith Levins, over 100 million. Second fraud is Grant Cardone saying, if you're going to go bankrupt, charge your cards up, get the Cardone sales training. After you go bankrupt, you'll still have it for your new company. So that's a great question, Marla. Great question. Bend over. Question, are Grant's attorneys Scientology attorneys or personal attorneys? Have you looked them up? Ben, no, I haven't looked them up. And I have a feeling he probably would have gotten a recommendation, perhaps, from Monique Yingling. I could be wrong, but Grant's there in Miami, so a lot of good attorneys down there. Grant says he knows all these big players, so maybe, he called Ben Mala for a recommendation. Ben Mala doesn't like Grant at all. So, bend over again. Secondly, how do you get upset when you're all over social platforms? Another man rakes your coals and you get upset. Yeah, that's exactly it, Ben. You're a public figure. You're tweeting, Instagramming, you're social mediating all over the place. And then you get a few critics and suddenly you're wanting to sue for $100 million plus. Grant being a public figure is going to be part of the problem. It's not like that's going to be a problem. So let's see. So anyway, Indie Spirit, do you think Grant Cardone is losing money? It seems like this lawsuit, Cardone throwing shade, someone to blame for his failures. Yeah. Well, he said he paid $60 million in distribution, if I recall, in last year. So he kept up with his distributions. But I'm going to do an analysis of all his funds to see how they're performing. And there's boards I look at and things. Grant blocks me on X, but I can still, get access to his tweets. Not like a big deal. Grant blocks me. And yet he follows me on my blog. And I'm going to show you that because I get it appears to be Grant. Yes. Let's go and share this page because I get a kick out of this. And it says it's Sunday night. We can hang around a little bit over. If you have to go, I understand. Because it's 6:10 here. And so if you have to go to evening service at your church, you should go. If you want to hang around, I'm just going to give some after show things. I like to cut it at an hour, but it's kind of fun when we can hang around and talk. I want to show you something. Okay, share this screen. Now, on my blog, I have a community section, and you can see, wait a minute, I have the wrong, where is that at? I have a community section, and I just have to find this. Anyway, you can see the community section. So let me find out where I have that on the tab because I'm a little bit, it gets clunky. Okay, so now I have little green dots because I'm in a test mode right now with some CSS and image codings, but green dots. These are my followers. And for a while, Grant Cardone was actually following the Scientology Humanity Project, but it looks like I may have lost Grant as a follower. Oh my. What am I going to do? So I think he's unfollowed me. He's unsubscribed. So doing these blogs that he doesn't like me anymore. And what can I do? I mean, Grant doesn't like me. Oh no, what will I do? Anyway, I'll keep doing videos. So now come on, Alex. Does the red light of the light bit penetrate the BTs though? Well, technically, Alex, now that we're talking science, since body thetans are immaterial spirits, that is thetans, they wouldn't have any interaction with light. The light would go right through, I guess. Body thetans are made out of theta. Body thetans made out of theta, and theta is spirit. Therefore, the photons would pass right through. And, Dr. Hubbard, the nuclear physicist, creator of Scientology, never specified the interaction. I guess, Alex, to answer your question, would the light bed that Grant does 20 minutes a day on, would it interact with body thetans? I think the only answer to that, we'd have to put Grant Cardone on an e-meter and see what happened when he was in his light bed. And, oh, wait a minute. There's a problem there because Grant's an OT8, so he doesn't have BTs anymore. He was mocking up his BT case and it's gone. So that's a dead end as a scientific project. Anyway, so I want to thank you for watching, but keep watching this lawsuit. If you want to read the lawsuit, it does show a psychological profile of Grant Cardone. It does reveal a part of him. And he claims to be angry, hurt, distressed, upset, but mostly financially injured. And he told Patrick Bet-David that he's real mad and he's had it and he's going to put on the gauntlet. But the problem, like I said yesterday, Grant Cardone, you start suing people, you're going to get deposed and you're going to get asked all kinds of stuff that you might not want to answer. You may be compelled to present documents that you don't want to. So watch out what you wish for because you might get it. And there's a lot of evidence you left lying around that a lot of people have archived. So seriously, you think that you have enough money to fight free speech? Well, you have found your inner L. Ron Hubbard. You think you can shut down critics just because you have lawyers? You should take a lesson on what happened to the Church of Scientology when they tried to shut down a Tom Cruise video. The result was anonymous. People do not like censorship in America. And this lawsuit where you said your reputation has been damaged, this is going to hurt you more than anybody. That's my prediction. So I leave it at that. For the Scientology Humanity Project on YouTube, this is Jeffrey Augustine. Thank you for watching, and we'll keep bringing you coverage of this. And one last comment. I'll let Ben, you like tacos, Turner, have the last word. Exactly, Jeff. I don't see how he, of all people, could survive discovery. I don't either, Ben. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a great evening.